Customer Success Convos. Join the biggest names in customer success for a video series that brings together leaders within the field to discuss the latest trends, innovative insights, and most effective strategies within customer success right now. Hosted by Vish Walia. Whether you're new to customer success or a seasoned professional, Vish and his guests will leave you with actionable advice, takeaways, and top tips to enhance your customer experiences.
Brian, can you give us a brief introduction about the company and your role at User IQ?
Yeah, so User IQ is a customer success software platform where we aim to combine the worlds of customer success and user adoption so that our customers can get a proactive picture of their customers. At User IQ, I'm responsible for everything post-sale as far as CS is concerned, from everything that we think about in terms of renewals, all the way down to helping a few customers myself.
Awesome. That sounds great. Now, Brian, we talked about a few topics, but the topic we picked for today's discussion is scaling the onboarding process. Can you help understand our audience that how companies can scale the onboarding process with the right mix of technology and human element?
Yeah, this is a popular topic today. A lot of conversation going on about this.
Absolutely.
Particularly as we talk about segmenting your customers into enterprise versus small business versus anything in between. The way that I'm seeing a lot of folks do it right now, number one is this idea of segmenting your customer, and it doesn't have to be in the manner that I just described, right? The big business and the smaller business. It can be really along the lines, any lines that you feel are important for your business. So it might be geographical, it might be particular industry. Those are a few of the examples that we see out there. On top of the the small and the large businesses. So from a scaling standpoint, that's really where you want to start is figure out what your onboarding process looks at different levels and how many different onboarding processes that you want to have. When you take a look at tech touch and human element, it's really important that we strike a very good balance between those two. Customers are still human. Humans are still buying from humans in today's world. I don't see that changing anytime soon. So if we do introduce a tech touch model into our onboarding process, we want to make sure that we get as close to a human experience as possible to make sure that your customer is getting out of the app what they want to get out of the app and what you want them to get out of the app. And so really think about going through the onboarding process yourself before you design your tech touch approach. So that way where customers have been. In fact, even maybe ask some customers how they went through it. I think that's an important item. And then the last item I'll touch on from scaling the onboarding process, Vish, is making sure that you have the capability, the ability to build the resources and the assets, the tech touch approach within your organization, and that can come through various different platforms that are available on the market. When you think about building your onboarding process, you want to make sure that you're not only building what the customer is going to interact with, but you're building a total environment and total ecosystem for getting feedback and data from what your customers are going through in the onboarding process.
Very interesting. No, I love the insights that you shared. Can you give us some examples? I know that you worked on this project. If there are any examples that you can share with the audience, that would be great.
Yeah, I think there's two big examples that come into play when you talk about scaling your onboarding process and really adding a tech touch to it. The first one is this idea of a in-app welcome message. And the way that we do this ourselves and the way that we advise our customers to do this today is to create an audience or a segment of first-time users. And when you have a first-time user log in, whether it's a new customer or a first-time user at a current customer, you have a simple pop-up that comes up there and shows them either who the CSM is, in our case, or a place where they can quickly get to somebody if they have a question. It might be the CSM, it might be your support team, but basically give them a place to go if they get stuck, is the purpose of this particular in-app message. Ours today, User IQs, is a picture and an email address, as well as the support path, should they go down that. I am thinking about in 2022, Vish, how we make that more personalized. Maybe it's a video of some sort with one of our CSMs saying, hey, Vish, welcome to User IQ. Really appreciate you being here. Click here to get started. Something like that, right? And those are pretty straightforward you can do nowadays. The second tool that I would suggest folks use are the popular term, at least the term I use, is guided tour. But basically it's in-app tours of your product. The key here, Vish, is to make those tours short and sweet, and perhaps even use videos in those tours, because when you make a tour too long, it does two things. One, it causes a greater potential to lose your end customer's attention. But two, there's just more room for error with the guided tour itself when you're setting it up. So I think the welcome to the customer, the in-app message, the video or the picture of someone who can help you is very important, has worked well for us. And then short guided tours showing them important features in your application. Those are two places to start when you think about going tech touch on your onboarding process.
No, that's great. And, I like, the way you shared these examples, right? They in itself show that, it was, you use the scale model to scale the onboarding process, right? So these tech initiatives that you shared are something that companies can take on themselves, as these are smaller initiatives. Now, we know that, when we introduce new concepts, new processes in any organization, there's a resistance, or at least we face some kind of a challenge. Now, as you were introducing the scaling the onboarding process at User IQ, can you share with us what challenges or roadblocks did you face as you were introducing this?
Yeah, that's a great question, Vish. The two major challenges that we faced when we started implementing this, number one of the hardest things to do for anybody, whether it's engineering, marketing, CS, is creating something out of thin air or from scratch. And so when we started our program, when we were building the content out, we didn't know what we didn't know. We didn't know what would work well in the eyes of the customer. We didn't know if something was too much, if it was maybe too little. And so that's one of the, I think, major roadblocks that if you're trying to do this for the first time, particularly if you're a small company, you just kind of have to do trial and error, punch through that wall, figure out what works well for you, but acknowledge that it's okay that you don't know, what you don't know. Always look for examples. We used a couple, quite frankly, of our vendors to go in there and look at what they did from an onboarding standpoint to better script or design what we have. So that's number one. Sure. And then number two is, if you're in a high touch model today, or even if you're not in a high touch model, but you've never built or had the opportunity to build sort of a tech touch model, again, you're starting from scratch. There's no playbook for that, right? And it's different for every company that you go to. And so, one of the challenges that I certainly have faced at User IQ and other folks have told me is, where do I even start? What videos do I make? Yeah. What audience do I target first? And so again, going back to what was said earlier from a segmentation standpoint, and again, just sort of punching through the wall, you do want to do that, but you also want to have a plan to go in, going into that to know what to focus on. With User IQ, we made the conscious decision to start with first-time users. And so we tried to mimic the first-time user flow through our application, and that's what we are designing our tech touch approach around.
Perfect. No, thank you for sharing those. I know, this is a popular topic. Many customer success leaders around the globe are looking at, scaling the onboarding process. what advice would you give to those customer success leaders who are embarking on this project at the organization?
Yeah. So number one, Vish, is to recognize that technology for CS leaders and CSMs should be thought of as our ally, and not as a foe. As I sit here today, I don't believe personally that technology can replace what CS practitioners do. Until that day that we're no longer people buying from people, right? Where we become computers buying from computers. I think CS will have a big role in many different facets. And so don't think of technology as a way to necessarily augment or replace. I'm sorry, as a necessary way to replace
Sure.
your onboarding process. Use it to augment and have it be a useful ally in your process. You want to optimize your onboarding process, and technology will help you get objective information as well. So that for me is number one.
Okay.
And then number two, again, kind of referenced it earlier. Don't delay getting something out there. It particularly in a small to mid-sized business where we're not as fortunate as our colleagues in some of the bigger businesses where we have robust marketing teams that have the time to look at everything. Set the purpose of what you want to do in your onboarding. Have a couple folks look at it again, whether it's on your team. Maybe you have a small marketing. We have a great marketing team at User IQ that has helped out in unbelievable ways with our tech touch approach. But it doesn't have to be perfect the first time. It has to be on brand, on and in theme, obviously, but you will tweak it. And I think you will tweak it because you find a better way to do it, number one, or number two, perhaps your customers' needs change. So don't delay that launch. Get out there and let it run for your customers.
Amazing. You made a very interesting comment, right? For customer success, we have to envision technology as our ally, not as a foe. And, as we were talking about bringing the right mix of technology and human element, what would you advise to our CS practitioners on what they should be doing as their organizations are embracing this scale model with the right mix of technology and human, and also what skills they should be learning, as they embrace this new reality?
Yeah. Echoing my earlier comment to start the answer to your question is, again, technology will only get us so far in today's world. And that'll evolve over time, as will anything. But again, my belief is that until machines are buying from machines, that CS will play a absolutely pivotal and huge role. So understand what technology can do for you. Okay. And then as you're looking to drive your own success, or perhaps you're looking to enter the CS market, look at the skills that technology doesn't have to do for you today. So, think about ways that you can think 2 or 3 steps ahead of where your customer is and how you can help them get to where they want to be. Continue to ask questions and be curious about your customers and what they're trying to accomplish. And make sure you have the confidence to, not only ask those questions, but help them use your technology to get where they want to be. If you adopt skills, these skills, you get better at them, you continue to get better at them, while furthering your understanding of the technology that's available and how you can use it to allow you to work smarter. Again, I didn't say work harder, work longer. I said work smarter. Yeah. Then you become a very, very powerful and very, very beneficial advocate of your customers, and you will have a great CS career.
Amazing. No, I totally concur with you, right? As we know that customer success role is very strategic. It holds a value of, being a trusted advisor to your customer, and you continue to be doing that. And then all the repetitive reporting and very object-driven tasks can be replaced with technology. So there's a very healthy mix of work that can be done by a customer success practitioner, and he can leverage technology to do other admin, repetitive or not so productive tasks. And this is a great harmony if we can put that together. But having said that, Brian, thank you so much. The topic itself is a very hot topic, and the key insights that you shared, I'm sure our audience will love that. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Vish, for having me on. Always great talking to you. Really like what you're doing with the podcast, and appreciate you having me on here today.
Awesome. So as you know that we talked about, scaling the onboarding process. If you have any questions or need some information, feel free to connect with Brian on LinkedIn, and he'll be happy to help you with that. Perfect. Thank you so much. Let me pause. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our amazing guest speaker for today, Brian Nicholls from User IQ. Welcome to the podcast, Brian.
Thank you, Vish, for having me.
Awesome. Brian is Vice President of Customer Success at User IQ. Brian, can you tell us about User IQ and about your role at User IQ as Vice President of Customer Success?
Yeah, absolutely. User IQ is a customer success platform that aspires to create a world where any business can deliver exceptional customer success. We're doing this by trying to marry the worlds of customer success and digital adoption. At User IQ, I'm primarily responsible for a number of items, everything from the strategic vision all the way down to being fortunate enough to work with a couple of clients directly as they embark upon their journey of making their customers successful.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Customer Success Convos. That's it for this week's episode. Join us again next time to learn more about customer success tips and takeaways from industry leaders.